I'm here with Andre Gutfreund, who is a filmmaker that I've been following for a while, and just an honor to be with you right now. And if you can give us a quick introduction about yourself.
So I was born in El Salvador. I went to Tufts University in Boston. And after a couple of years, I realized that I was a very active student activist, but I didn't go to class much. And so then I worked in a collective farm in Israel called the kibbutz. And I happened to have a roommate who was a theater major. And we started reading plays together at night. And I started falling in love with the idea of studying theater, which had never had occurred to me before. I returned to Tufts University. I switched to theater. Then I got offered a fellowship to get a master's degree in theater in London. After my master's in theater, I was invited by our Minister of Culture to come back to El Salvador and work in what he had started, which is Televisión Educativa. It was an educational and cultural channel which wanted to do its own productions that no other channel were executing. It was theater pieces, but also documentaries. And I went to the conservatory of the American Film Institute to recruit, to meet the director, Antonio Vellani. Tony told me that coincidentally, his very good friend, Roberto Rossellini, and even though I had never thought of studying film, I had certainly seen some of Roberto's films and was very impressed by them. Rome, Open City, for example. When Roberto came down, I invited both of them on behalf of Televisión Educativa to come and give a 2-week workshop. In the process of doing that, I was directing a play. Roberto came, and right afterwards, Roberto said, you should study film because you directed that as if you were directing a movie. Tony offered me a fellowship, and I decided to take the leap because it sounded very exciting. 2 months later, I found myself going to Los Angeles to study, get my master's in film. And that's where it all started for me. And that's where I met Peter Werner, who I ended up doing my thesis film with, and we won the Oscar together. David Lynch, at that particular point, was working a feature film, and I immediately volunteered to be an intern on his film so that I could see how things worked from the start. We then found money for David to finish the film. And the irony is that a film that no one ever thought would be a link towards the industry, because it's a film that is totally non-industry conscious, still sends me checks. Every year I still receive checks for my participation in Eraserhead, which no one ever would have thought would be possible. I think it all depends where the person is coming from in terms of wanting to become a filmmaker. If they're coming from fiction, if they want to do stories and would like to adapt those stories for them to become films, or if they've fallen in love with writing and writing their own stories and then either teaming up with someone else to direct or direct it themselves. And we have to be very careful that we have too many young people who believe that they are auteurs, they're called, that they can write, direct, edit, produce, do everything themselves, instead of forming a family, forming a team. The great thing about film is that it's a team effort. There are very few people who are so brilliant, like a Kubrick, for example, who can't communicate verbally with people, but he can certainly command them to do what he wants them to do. So the vast majority of people who are very talented and successful as filmmakers are people who think in terms my vision, but executed by a family. It's executed by a we effort. And the we is essential in order to be able to not only make a good film, but enjoy the process at the same time. And in order for it to be a successful we, the person directing has to be happy about taking advantage of it in a positive way of the talents that surround them.